delegates, dignitaries, and technical doyens who are here. Applauded by most of the poultry producers, and a molecule called biopolymer, and of course due to the so will be having specific mode of isolate and purify biopolymer. It is too early to reveal the molecular weight or the exact composition of the biopolymer that we are using in our products. Or so one such biopolymer combination is being used in one of our gut health solution called NeoGut. So what is the purpose of it? Because those biopolymer combination at that particular molecular weight are having lot of anti effects, mainly three major anti effects called antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and astringent property. So such natural biopolymer is being used, and so the mode of action is exactly this. As I told you, being a cationic biopolymer, it can effectively bind on the anionic cell wall and on the genetic material of the bacteria. What it indicates, definitely it can cater both gram negative and gram positive bacteria, isn't it? And further, since it is natural, it is having that saprophytic activity, so that it can have the sparing effect. We used to call it a sparing effect. So it can spare the favorable bacteria, because you know very well, in the poultry gut, actually the number of bacterial cells will be even more than the number of own body cells, actually its own body cells. So that many bacterial cells will be there in the poultry gut. So our intention is not to disturb the favorable microflora, but to reduce the load of the pathogenic load, which causes dysbacteriosis. I'll finish it fast. So this particular biopolymer, apart from having antimicrobial property, they do have anti-inflammatory property, because whatever there is a disturbance happens in the gut, inflammation arises. Whenever inflammation arises, the gut lumen gets constricted. So once the gut lumen gets constricted, definitely the feed retention time will be less. As I told you, nowadays we are getting more body weight in broilers by healthy way, by giving more nutrients. So those nutrients has to be processed properly inside the gut for the better efficacy and performance without any loss. For that, gut should be in eubiotic stage. So whenever there is inflammation, the feed cannot stay there for longer duration, so that it will be coming out as such undigested. So that is a huge economical loss to the customers. So whatever the molecule that we are using should be having better anti-inflammatory property. And of course, since it is prebiotic in nature, it do have effect over gut associated lymphatic tissue, so it can trigger GALT, gut associated lymphatic tissue, to keep the immunity, because gut is the major immune organ apart from all the other primary organs like basa fabricius or thymus. So it has to be in always alert stage. And these are certain in vitro assays that we have conducted to assess the antimicrobial property of our biopolymer, that by tube dilution method for assessing their MIC value, and by Kirby Boyer method we have conducted zone of inhibition analysis to test their efficacy against the gram positive bacteria like Clostridium perfringens and Staphylococcus, gram negative like E. coli and Salmonella. So what are all the functional utilities of these particular biopolymer? Definitely it is having antimicrobial property, so it can potentially replace any antibiotics, because poultry industry, as I told you, is expanding in a very healthy way. So they are thinking about withdrawing or using antibiotics in a very less quantity, and that too by considering their withdrawal period, so that there should not be any residue or resistance in poultry meat for our public welfare issue. So anti-inflammatory property, as I told you, it prevents the economical waste, that is undigested feed particles in the feces, and wound healing property, definitely, because birds are getting exposed to most of the xenobiotics like bacteria or excess contaminants through feed and drinking water. So it should be well protected with most of the xenobiotics for it. And immune system enhancer, as I told you, and also antioxidant property, since it can capably engulf or phagocyte most of the free radicals that is being synthesized inside the gut, and it can also potentially bind mycotoxin and heavy metals, and it is also being used for encapsulation and drug delivery. Even this particular biopolymer is highly used in agro industry for increasing the shelf life of the fruits and crops like potatoes, apples, because those are not the year round crops, isn't it? They will be rarely, that is 2 or 3 months crops, that is in a year we will be getting apple for 2 months or 3 months. So to get it throughout the year, the shelf life of the fruits and vegetables has to be increased. So this particular biopolymer is having very good filming property, so that it is being used to cover the fruits and vegetables to increase their shelf life. That is the advantage of this particular. So this is the best alternate for AGVs. Almost most of the antibiotics are being eroded from poultry industry, and of course including India, most of the other our neighboring countries are not at all using antibiotics nowadays, and they are also considering about AGVs. And we have conducted several in vitro assays, several in vivo assays, and we used to do lesion scoring after using this particular biopolymer, and we found heavy reduction in terms of excess mucus secretion of necrotic and hydatitis spots. So it also prevents syndrome, which is in terms of fecal texture, in terms of fecal derangements. So leaky gut syndrome. With that, I will finish my presentation, and thank you so much, all the dignitaries, for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and also to meet such a science-based community. Thank you so much. Thank you.